It is April 1453. Outside the walls of Constantinople, the Ottoman Empire has assembled 100,000 soldiers. The defenders are facing a siege army equipped with the most terrifying artillery the world has ever seen. Outnumbered and outgunned, the Byzantines watching from the shore know they are running out of time. By every metric of the era, nothing on earth can stop what is coming. Then, hovering 2,000 feet above the battlefield, a dry hiss and a brief spark break the timeline. A single AH-64 Apache attack helicopter has dropped into the 15th century sky. This is a collision of absolutes, the ultimate medieval siege force, and a single machine from 500 years in their future. The Apache operates as a weapons platform that dominates the entire theater, carrying 16 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, 76 Hydra rockets, and a 30mm chain gun. It functions differently from any medieval force, projecting lethal power from altitude all the way down to the ground. However, this time displacement severs the machine from its 20th century support infrastructure. There is no tanker, no resupply, and no maintenance crew. To survive, the pilot must operate under strict parameters, stay out of range of massed musket fire, shoot mostly at night, and manage every shell and missile as a resource that can never be replaced. The pilot is fighting a battle of attrition against the finite mathematical limits of their own isolated machine. The operation begins before a single medieval lookout is awake. At 3 a.m., the Apache runs completely dark, holding position miles above the sleeping camp. Thermal optics provide an illuminated map of the battlefield, allowing the pilot to observe the entire camp without emitting a single detectable signal. The pilot prioritizes the massive bronze siege cannons and the engineering command tents, the literal brain and muscle of the Ottoman operation. The first Hellfire missile drops and accelerates through the pre-dawn darkness without an audible warning. A massive cannon and the specialized crew required to operate it are instantly vaporized. Commanders who have conquered kingdoms find themselves facing an attack with no visible origin point. As signal fires break out across the camp, they only serve to create better targets for the Apache sensors. With the engineering core neutralized and the heavy artillery destroyed, the Army's ability to coordinate a complex siege effectively disintegrates before sunrise. As dawn breaks, the surviving soldiers finally hear a hard chopping sound in the sky and see a dark shape hanging in the fog. The Ottoman military's instinct under threat is deeply ingrained. They rely on tight, disciplined formations, crowding together to create a unified defensive front. This spacing, while effective against infantry and cavalry charges, creates a catastrophic target profile for modern area of effect weapons. The Apache's Hydra rockets are mathematically designed to exploit these dense formations, turning the Ottomans' legendary discipline into a direct liability. Thousands of muskets and cannons fire upward, but the projectiles either skip harmlessly away or fall hopelessly short of the gunship's altitude. By applying their best tactical training to the wrong millennium, the Ottoman soldiers inadvertently accelerate their own destruction. Inside the cockpit, the pilot is managing a struggle against failing internal sensors. Modern navigation relies on a network of GPS satellites that will not be launched for another 500 years. The pilot must rely on manual mathematics and older targeting formulas to prevent wasting the few remaining rockets and shells. The most critical timer is the fuel gauge. Operating at low altitudes in thick air burns aviation fuel at an unsustainable rate. To conserve the final drops of fuel, the pilot executes an urgent maneuver, climbing sharply into the cloud layer. The machine's capabilities are ultimately dictated by the invisible logistical tether required to keep it in the air. The operation reaches its conclusion with the weapons bays empty and the fuel gauge at critical. To conceal the technology, the pilot turns west and prepares to ditch the helicopter in the deep sea. As the smoke clears, the greatest siege engine in history has been reduced to a burning wasteland. This single flight resulted in a massive tactical delay, shattering the invasion schedule and buying the city precious time. Survivors on both sides of the wall attempt to process the trauma using the only vocabulary available to them in 1453. Soldiers speak of an angry god of thunder, while watchers from the city describe a relentless iron ghost. Monks within the city begin writing manuscripts to document a trial from God that struck from the sky and left no survivors. This 3-hour event sparks a theological debate within Constantinople that will continue for the next 7 centuries. When a machine of pure science is stripped of its context, it leaves behind a mystery that inevitably becomes a myth.